Okay, we'll go right in.
713, so.
All right, we'll go right into recreation, public parks and buildings. Begin at 713. Present are committee members Kelly and Heeman, Council President Jones, Councilman Limper, Councilman Schuman, Councilwoman Williamson, Councilman Glassburn, the mayor, the finance director, the assistant law director, and guests. We'll be discussing 2020-72, a resolution dispensing with the RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with John Patrick Picard Architect Incorporated for the purpose of providing architectural services for the North Olmsted City Hall Public Health Improvement Project and declaring an emergency. And also 2020-73, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide construction services for the North Olmsted City Hall Public Health Improvements Project as detailed in the specifications on file in the Department of Planning and Community Development, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Mayor Kennedy, would you like to discuss this?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll take 2020-72 first. This is the one regarding dispensing of the RFP, and JPP, John Patrick Picard, has done a ton of work for us. We've always been thrilled with his work, and he's actually the one that did the HVAC, which is still going on, so we still see him around the building. He's very familiar with this building, and he has set aside time to do this. And like I said, he's very familiar with all the players here at City Hall. He's done a great job for us, and this is a very timely thing. We really need to get on this.
All right, do you have any particulars about what you want to try to get done with this?
Well, that's kind of, the first issue is dispensing of the RFP. The next issue, I'll kind of go into everything else. So if you're done with the first issue, I can hit in the second issue.
All right, so I just have one question, seeing I'm pretty new at this. Is this the only architect that you use?
No, we've used other architects, but this is the one that's always done an awesome job for us, and we see when you have a good vendor, whether it be construction company, you stick with them if they do a good job for you, because we've also had people not do a good job for us.
Okay. Committee, question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor, could you enhance the, well, I think are we done with the RFP process,
No,
Mr. Chair?
we're still on the RFP.
Oh, okay. I would like to just state that, in my 6 years, I've not really seen too many other architects, and we always seem to be waiving this, request for proposals, the RFP process. And I would hope that after this project that we will sort of kind of go back to that, because, our money is a little tighter than it used to be. And while he's a very good architect, it seems, and people like him, perhaps there are others out there that actually might be doing better work now that they don't have any, or maybe have better prices that are good architects and good contractors for us. So I have no objection to this one, Mr. Chair and Mr. Mayor, but I would like to, in the future, start to see us go back a little bit more toward that RFP process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Heeman. Finance Director Kopfer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the reasons why we had to dispense with the RFP process for this is the timing of it, because if we had gone 3 readings and then we had to go out for RFPs and select an architect and then go out for bids, design and bid, we wouldn't have made the deadline. So we opted with someone who has done good work. He knows our building, and we know his commitments are true to his word, that if he can get it done, he can get it done. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Heeman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't have an objection to this, Director Kupfer, and I do understand the timeline, particularly the very tight one with the restrictions on that COVID money that we are able to have now, and that some of the improvements to City Hall, now they're being enhanced with some of that money. And so that was not my, I had no objection, and I apologize, I did not mention specifically that I understood that. Thank you.
How about the rest of the council? Anybody have a question on this part? Seeing none, let's move into 2020-73. Mayor?
Yeah, thank you for reading legislation, Mr. Chairman. This project involves necessary expenditures due to the public health emergency related to COVID-19 in order to make capital improvements to City Hall to protect the health of the public and the employees here at City Hall. I want to note that everything must be encumbered by October and all work completed and paid out by December 28th, 2020. Improvements to be made to the public and semi-public spaces at City Hall include the lobby, the mayor's court, the building department public service areas, first floor restrooms, and kitchen. The lobby will be redesigned for directional entry and exit with restrictions to the public access further into the building. Lobby configurations will promote social distancing and use finishes that can be easily cleaned. Public service points will be designed to protect both public and employees. Additional meeting and flex spaces will be designed in semi-public areas to discourage unnecessary travel through City Hall. And restrooms will be redesigned with touchless toilets, faucets, hand dryers, and will meet current ADA standards. And modifications to City Hall HVAC system are being looked at, and they're looking at installing technology to filter out particulate, bacteria, and viruses. And again, we're just exploring that option too. But again, we've got a certain amount of money, we have to spend it, and so we're doing our best to protect employees and the public in this.
Okay. I assume we'll be talking about this at a later date also. I mean, if you're going to be looking for any recommendations or other questions about what might be in this lobby area at that time, or?
Well, we have a pretty good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a pretty good committee. We have John Patrick Picard, we have Jeff Drusenmeyer. So those guys are completely familiar with building departments, front lobbies of city halls. So I feel very comfortable with their input, as well as Finance Director Carrie Koffer and Kim Lieber too. So again, this is something that we've already started working on. It's kind of fast and furious, so we just want to get this done and be able to improve our building, improve the experience of people that come in, improve the safety for our workers, and have it paid for out of money coming our way through COVID-19.
Well, sure, that makes sense. I mean, a question I had, and I don't know if this is the right time for it or not, but I happened to had to go to Southwest General Hospital on Monday, and before you could get into the main part of it, they had a desk set up where it looked like an iPad or whatever sitting on there, and you looked into it and it took your temperature before you could get past this desk. I mean, you're thinking about something like that would screen somebody as soon as they come in the door, just to make sure they're not over that 100.4 mark?
Yeah, well, we're thinking about, I mean, we're going to do that when City Hall opens up again. We may not have that exact technology, but we are looking at various options. So I'm sure we'll enhance that as this project goes on.
Okay, well, that was my question about upgrading this. Were you thinking about something like that, or?
Yes.
Okay, great. Ms. Heeman, do you have a question on committee?
Not a question exactly, but a comment. Mayor, could you run through the process, since Mr. Kelly is new to our council, that, once this is passed, that it does or does not come back before council for final approvals? We get the contracts back as they come in. If you could roll through that process for us, that would, I think, be helpful to Mr. Kelly, please.
Yeah, yes, I will. So it does not come back through council. You're authorizing the city to go out to bid. Once we get the bids back in, We have a committee that reviews them, and then it goes to Board of Control, which is a public meeting. You can come to Board of Control if you wish, and then we select the vendor for the work.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, any questions? Mr. Limpert.
Thanks, Mr. Kelly. So on the review board, so I mean, obviously the COVID standards are getting pushed out, but is there anybody from a health background that would be part of that planning review process? Or is it just going to be from an architecture and internal review standpoint? Like, are we going to get any feedback from either outside health professionals, or how does that input get into the plan, I guess is what I'm asking.
I would just say that both JPP and Jeff Grusemeyer are fully aware of all the COVID-19 and architectural things that need to be done with the front entrance project, and that this is their profession, and that's what they do, and this is what it's come down to. So they all have to be very experienced at it.
My only comment would be to make sure that we have something specific to that in the RFP, that it meets the current COVID standards, whatever that may be.
Okay, we could do that.
Ms. Heeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Limpert, I might be able to help you a little bit in a comfort level. I've been having to read the building code because I've got another piece of legislation I'm drafting, and people are on vacation, so I just sort of took to that project of reading through it. There are now provisions in the Ohio Building Code that are specific for COVID-19 as particular businesses as they're applied. So for example, the biggest business are the daycare centers, for example, because they have the biggest restrictions. So there have been updates and things that are temporarily in the Ohio Building Code that then have to be followed. But Mr. Grusemeyer was able to guide me to some of the statutes that I needed, and he is very well versed in that. I have discovered in having to do my own reading and research.
All right, thank you. Ms. Copper, do you still have your hand up? You were gone there for a minute.
Yeah, sorry, my dog was barking. And I had to beat her on without you guys seeing me. No, just kidding. I just wanted to echo what Ms. Heeman said, that that's what I was going to say, is there's codes and standards that have been put in to the Ohio Building Code, and things for us to be able to be open. There's requirements, so we're meeting all those. And the other person that's involved is Don Glauner, the Safety Service Director, and Marie Gallo, our HR and in charge of buildings. So we have a good mix of people that are pretty familiar with what we have to do to open the building. And the other good thing about this is that because we're limiting access and restructuring the flow, it's also going to, improve not just for health reasons, but also for security reasons. It's going to improve the security of our building as well.
Great, thank you. Mr. Glassburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the mayor might be the person to respond to this. I guess the question I have is twofold. One is, I assume the structure of this is a reimbursement model. And if so, are we feeling very confident that this is going to meet the criteria for reimbursement?
I think that question is better answered by Carrie, but yes, I feel confident. What was your first part of that question?
Just to make that that if this was a reimbursement as opposed to them giving us cash outright, that
I believe it's a reimbursement, but that's
okay.
A good question for Carrie.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Yep.
Actually, we're getting the monies next week. The county already has the monies and they're distributing them to us, but there's an audit factor after the fact. So I've reviewed it with a lot of different people, and we think that we have the necessary improvements in here that make it definitely a COVID in response to the public emergency. And So we're going to be fine with it. And we're going to make sure that we're in step with that every step of the way. It will get reimbursed. I mean, it'll be audited and be fine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Anybody else on council have a question? Ms. Williamson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one quick question. Mayor Kennedy, when you were talking about the touchless appliances, I guess, if you will, for a better term, in the restrooms, are you going to be putting or have touchless water fountains been considered for the building as well?
Yes, that's something that's being discussed, and I want you all to know that I made a push to make sure that all the products are Moen products. So
Fair enough. Thank you.
Anybody else on council? Mr. Schuman, did you have your hand up? Okay. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and recommend this to, make a motion, recommend this to full council and ask for a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that
Aye.
passes 2-0. And that ends the meeting at 7:29.